Get it while it's hot. Their fantastic frontman, lead singer is Steve Whiteman, and he's going to join us live right now on the phone line here on Eddie Trunk Live, Trunk Nation, on this Monday. Steve, long time no see, pal.
Eddie, I just saw you on the cruise. Hadn't been that long.
I'm joking. I'm being sarcastic. Together, but we were bunking practically next to each other. I was in the Kix wing of the cruise ship.
That's right, that's right. You know, I was just listening to Get It While It's Hot, and I'm just realizing how high that stuff is that I sing, and I'm thinking about just start sucking helium from now on, so I can just, maybe I can take it to the next octave.
Well, there you go. That might be the solution. You know, some bands resort to playing a track behind them or having backing singers under the stage. Maybe the Steve Whiteman move is just sucking helium before you go out.
Yeah. I think so. Just have the whole tank out there all night long. Just suck it and sing.
Well, listen, man, I've seen your pre-show warm-up ritual, and you're not that far removed from that.
No, I'm pretty anal about how I prepare for a show because I really care. I want to go out there and I want to be my best, and I want to be physically and vocally ready to do the best I can do. So I've been doing that for about 20 years, and as I get older, it gets a little longer.
I mean, for people that don't know, it's funny, Steve, because I talk to people all the time, lead singers, over the decades, doing interviews with them, and I always find it really amazing because I'll talk to some guys, and I'll ask them what their warm-up is, and it's literally nothing. It's I walk out on stage and sing, and then I'll talk to other guys who have a whole process, and, you know, I've seen you go through it, but give the listeners, if you can, a little idea of what's involved and how long it takes for you to get ready.
It literally takes me about an hour because I start out with doing some calisthenics and get the blood moving, and then I start doing some push-ups, and then I start doing some vocal exercises. And because of my physical approach to my performance, I'm always out of breath out there. So I've got to get myself out of breath through doing calisthenics and push-ups and do my warm-ups while being out of breath. So by the time I hit that stage, my body is prepared to be out of breath and totally warmed up, and, you know, go out and do what I do. And it takes me about an hour to go through that process.
So for you, it's not just a vocal thing, it's also a physical thing that you've got to get your blood pressure, your metabolism going to a point before you hit the stage that you're going to have for the whole time you're on stage. That's the idea?
Absolutely, yeah, because I'm pretty nonstop. So if I'm going to be leaping and jumping and dancing and prancing and singing all at the same time, you got to have the lungs ready, you got to have the vocal cords ready, you got to have the legs, the arms, the back, everything. It's all got to be ready to go.
Yeah, and people, if you haven't seen Kix in a while or seen Steve do his thing, it is nonstop, and that's one of the great things about the band. Were you always like that, Steve? I mean, I know your performance was always like that, but was your preparation always like that?
You know, I started as a drummer, and when I joined Kix, we were originally called the Shoes. I was a drummer, and when they threw me out front, I was an absolute turd. I mean, I was a turd on a mic. I didn't know what the hell to do because I felt comfortable back on my drums and doing all my vocals, but you threw me out there, and I had to relate to this crowd, so it was a whole learning process. So, you know, through getting somewhat good at it and always trying to be better at it, that's, you know, I've always approached it as very serious, very focused. I forget the question at this point.
No, but you were always, the level of preparation before you walk out on the stage was always like that, though, for when you came out front as a singer.
Well, I've always known, even when I played drums and sang, that I always sang better about a half an hour into the set than I did in the beginning. So it's like, ding, warm up, you know, do something that prepares your voice before you ever go out in front of that crowd. So I learned early on that doing some scales and doing a couple easier songs before you even went out and played prepared you. And then I actually had some real vocal training, and that helped tremendously, and that's what I still do to this day.
You kind of pulled a similar thing than what Steven Tyler did, because he started out as a drummer and was the drummer initially, and then came out front and decided to front the band and sing, obviously. What made that decision happen for you in those early days from going from the Shoes to Kix? Were you always just a good singer while you played drums? Was it your decision to come out front, or somebody else in the band said, hey, you got to become our singer?
It definitely wasn't my decision. It was Donnie Purnell's decision. He said, you know, you got the voice. You just got to get out and learn how to do it. I was reluctant. I didn't think I was capable of being able to handle a crowd like that. So I felt very good back there behind my drums. It was safe. But in a learning process, I just started watching my favorite performers like Mick Jagger, like Steven Tyler, like Peter Wolf, and some local performers that were very good. So I just started lifting all these moves off these people and tried to incorporate them into my show so it didn't look so obvious I was just ripping them off. And over a period of time, now people are stealing Steve Whiteman moves, which are really Mick Jagger's to Steven Tyler.
Well, it's all one big circle at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It just depends upon what period of your life, how old you are, and where you were dropped into the circle. Whether Steven Tyler's ripping off Mick Jagger or Steve Whiteman's ripping off Steven Tyler. It's just this big arc, and you just have to find where you fit in demographically, I think.
Exactly. I mean, we all have influences musically and performance-wise, and there, those bands in the 70s and early 80s will always be my favorite bands, and those are the people that I respect and definitely were influenced the most by. So that'll always be that way.
It's Eddie Trunk talking live with Steve Whiteman of Kix. Steve, do you still play drums?
I do. I have a little kit set up in my basement. I get down there when I get pissed off or whatever, or I just want to write some songs, or I just want to let off some steam. I get on my drums and beat the shit out of them.
Do you ever, in rehearsal or whatever, get up with Kix and jump on there for a second?
Nah, that's Jimmy's department. I don't get in his way. He doesn't get my way. I don't get in his way.
I'm just saying that maybe Jimmy wants to come out front and sing a little bit.
Yeah, right. That would be fun.
You could do a little role reversal again. Maybe he'll front the band a little bit. I don't know.
But Jimmy's got a great voice. Jimmy could be a singer, but he would never.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. How has things been for Kix overall? I mean, for people that haven't followed the story, you were doing the band Funny Money, which I still believe you do, if I'm not mistaken. You do that from time to time, right?
Yeah, I still do that in between the Kix stuff. It's about 50-50 at this point.
And you were inactive with Kix for a long time and then resurrected the band, I guess probably 4 or 5 years ago, is it now?
It probably started in 2003. Yeah, Funny Money was all I did. Kix took a 10-year hiatus.
Right.
We decided that the genre music was flushed. There was no money in it anymore. We couldn't make a living in it anymore. We took a year off and then got back together the next year and said, it's done. And we were done with it. So I started Funny Money, and I started doing vocal training in my area, the Baltimore, Harrisburg area. And a local promoter and club owner had Funny Money play and had Blues Balters play, which is Ronnie Youngkins. And at that time, Ronnie had invited Jimmy Chalfont, our drummer, to come out and sub as a drummer. His drummer could make it, and asked Jimmy to come out and help him out. So we were on the same stage. So as a treat to the crowd, Jimmy and Ronnie and I and Mark got up and did some Kix stuff at the end of the night, and the crowd went crazy. So the club owner went cha-ching, and he said, why don't we fly Brian in and do this again and call it Kix and do it right? And we did it, and it sold out, and it sold out, and it's been selling out ever since.
It's pretty amazing because I think, having talked to you back then when Kix wasn't around, it seemed like, I don't know if you ever thought that this time would come around again. I mean, it seemed like it was kind of, the ship had totally sailed and you guys were all on to other things and you did your Funny Money gigs, and even those gigs were billed by some promoters as Kix or a version of Kix at some point. But I don't know, did you have any confidence that we would see sort of this renaissance for your band and the music, and that you'd be able to, in 2012, 2013, 2011, be able to play gigs like this again?
Absolutely not. I thought it was done, over. I didn't think there was a prayer that it would ever come back. And when it started as little regional shows. I mean, in the Baltimore, D.C., Harrisburg, Hagerstown area. And we did like 4, maybe 6 shows a year. And it wasn't until I got a call from Sullivan Big, this agent, that called me and begged me to allow him the opportunity to book this band, to get us onto festivals, get us into casinos, and he was relentless. He would not take no for an answer. And I kept saying, no, it's not going to work. I don't want to be embarrassed by this. And so I agreed to let him come to me with offers. And the first offer he came to me was with Rocklahoma. And we flew out and did it. Much to my, I really didn't want to do it. I thought it was going to be a total flop. And we went out there and played this massive crowd. I believe you were there that night.
I was there. I hosted every one. I don't remember. Were you guys the very first one in '07, or was it '08? I don't remember. The first one was '07. The very first one was '07.
Yeah, it was '08. We were out there for the second one, and it rained like cats and dogs, and there was a massive crowd out there, and that just kind of recharged me. It did something to me that made me think, this is where I belong. This is what I should be doing. This is what this band should be doing at this point. So it really made me receptive to more things like that, and it's just gotten better and better each year.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are turning up at any venues, any given venue on any weekend, and I know you've got a date coming up on Long Island, and I know that it'll be here before we know it because it's the first weekend in May now, the big M3 Festival right in your backyard there in Columbia, Maryland at the Merriweather Post, and that's basically your home turf, and that's your thing, and you guys have started that every Friday night with what they call the Kicks-Off Party. I know that's got to be really special for you, and it's got to be cool to see an event like that now for 5 years. I think, is it 5 years that's been happening this year, if I'm not mistaken?
It is. We've been on the Kicks-Off Party for 3 years, and the first year it was just a Saturday event only, and then we were like third on the bill to the headliner, and the promoter realized that most of those fans out there, well, that area has been great to us over the past 30 years, and it's loyal as dogs. And during the Friday, they had to get me on the phone, the promoter, and talk me into it because I didn't feel we were capable of drawing that kind of a crowd in there on as a headliner. And they reassured me they would do it right. They would make it great. And the first time we did it, we had over 10,000 people, and I'm like, really? I mean, it blew my mind. It still blows my mind. And this year, from what I'm told, we're actually going to be the opener for Wasp because Wasp would not open up for Kicks. So I don't know what they're in for. I don't know if people are going to stay for them or not, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, Wasp hasn't played in a while, and I know Blackie is bringing a huge show. He told me he's got this huge mic stand and this whole thing. So even from a production standpoint, it might have been difficult for them to move that stuff off before you guys were able to come on. But that is your home turf.
We don't care, Eddie. We don't care. I mean, we have literally no ego at all. When they said, "Is it okay?" we said, "Yeah, we don't care." I'll get home earlier. So I don't care.
Well, let me ask you a couple other things, Steve. For people that don't know, it's pretty remarkable, too, because Kix is the original five guys, with the exception of on bass. Donnie's not there, and Mark, who does a great job playing bass. But people always wonder what went down with Donnie and why he's not part of it. And did he want to be part of it and opt not to be? What happened with him?
Yeah, honestly, I haven't spoke to Donnie in probably since 1996. And when we decided to part ways and call it a career, he called me probably several months after I had already decided to start Funny Money and to start teaching. So I was booking all these gigs and all these different students, and I was going to start a new, there was a new phase in my life. And he called me up with these offers about kick shows, and I said, I can't do that. I'm already starting this new facet in my life. And he got very angry with me, and he hung up. That was the last I heard from him. About a year later, I was going to do a Funny Money CD and a song that him and I co-wrote. I wanted to alert him that we were going to put this on this Funny Money CD. And he tore into me like a rabid dog. And it was the most uncomfortable, most abrasive conversation I've ever had in my life. And at the end of that conversation, and I let him do it. I could have just hung up on him and said, screw you, I don't need this. But I let him vent. I let him get his say in. And at the end of it, I just said, I'm sorry you feel like that. And that's probably the last time we'll ever talk. And that's the last time we've ever talked. And I know that he's taken great offense to Funny Money. As I started that band, it was never to go out to be a Kix cover band. It was to go out and do my material, some cover songs, and the stuff that I was allowed to write in Kix. And unfortunately, all the people that came out to the Funny Money shows, they see me on stage, they want to hear Kix. So I survived about a year without doing that, and then I finally had to relent just to keep the band together, just to provide for my family, because it's all I know how to do is to perform and to sing. So he took a big offense to me incorporating Kix songs into Funny Money shows. And from what I understand, I only hear rumors or close to the grapevine that he hates us. He hates us all, and that's the kind of person he was and is. He was not an easy person to work with. How we lasted 18 years is incredible. It was because Ronnie, Brian, Jimmy, and I really loved what we were doing, believed in what we were doing, loved the music. Unfortunately, he made it very difficult at times. So that's the biggest reason he's not involved.
You know, I had Snake from Skid Row in here last week, and we had a little bit of a conversation about this because fans, they don't follow and they don't know who wrote songs and whose band or who has ownership of names and stuff like that. The general fan, I mean, the most identifiable person in the band is always going to be the guy who was out front and the guy who was singing. So if you're doing Funny Money gigs, they're going to bill, the promoter's going to do anything they have to do to get people in the door. And even if you don't know about it, they're still going to run ads that are going to say Kix. And there's still going to be that pressure because all they care about is getting people in the door. They'll call it whatever the heck they want to call it.
Yep, and that was the case, too. I mean, there were some times when like, we would go to Kentucky or Cincinnati, and it wouldn't be Funny Money on the marquee. It would be Kix, and I would win and raise hell, but it was too late at that point. So, right. You know, I understand the resentment that Donnie has, but he also has to understand that, you know, we were there through all the writings of those songs, all the demos of those songs, all the recordings of those songs, all the touring of those songs. We may not have written them, but we definitely had a lot of impact and a lot of input on those songs. So I am guilt-free, and I feel totally great about what we're doing right now.
Well, you had told me a couple years ago, we had a conversation, and the topic came up of if there would ever be a new Kix record of new material, of studio material, and you, at that point, you had said you didn't think so because Donnie wasn't in the band and he was the primary songwriter. Has that changed, though, now?
Yeah, because when Frontier decided to help us put this live DVD and CD out, you know, they had a request of a new Kix studio album, and it's something that we talked around and thought about, and it's like, why not? Let's try and let's see what we can come up with. It's been a very slow process because we just don't have the time. It's not like we can just get together and for a month or 2 months and write together. Brian does Rhino Bucket. He's been in Europe for a couple of months. Ronnie does Blues Vultures. He's been making a new CD. Funny Money does their thing. It's getting us all together and writing. So, you know, it's writing through the internet. It's writing on Pro Tools and sending out ideas at this point. We've come up with probably 7 demos that we feel are pretty strong. It's actually, the project has been in limbo for the past several months, so I'm not really sure where we are on it at this time. But it's not anything that we've shot down. We are certainly conscious that people would love to hear it. And if it's good enough, and if we feel that it stays in that Kix vein, then yeah, we would love to put something out.
So there's no timetable for it, but it's something that you're entertaining and that you're kind of slowly working on, and it's on the table. And if it comes together right and you feel good about it, that you'd put out. That's pretty much the idea.
Absolutely. Yes, perfect.
And the Live in Maryland release, which was a DVD and CD that came out not too long ago, were you happy with that?
Yeah, I mean, that was never really a conscious effort to put that out as a national or worldwide release. It was just these guys that approached Mark Shaker and said, we'd love to come out and shoot the band, got multiple cameras, we'd just like to see what we can come up with, and if you like it, maybe we can do something with it. And, you know, we said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I guess maybe 6 months, a year went by, and they started shooting these videos to Mark, showing him these pieces of footage, and Mark was shooting them to everybody else in the band, and we were going like, wow, this is really, really good. So Mark got involved. Mark's a great engineer, producer kind of guy. He's great at Pro Tools, so he started mixing the whole thing, and these guys were editing the whole thing. So it took a couple years after it was all said and done, and the final product just made everybody so excited that, you know, we thought it was time to shop it. So we were lucky to get Frontier to put it out, and we're all very proud of it.
Well, that's available now, and you can check that out. It's a DVD, CD package of Kix Live in Maryland. As Steve just said, I guess it was a show from a year or so ago, right?
It was about 2 years ago. It's live. Kix live in Baltimore.
Live in Baltimore. There you go. And again, you can see Kix, well, not live in Baltimore, but pretty darn close. Columbia, Maryland, M3 Festival, the opening night on Friday. And it's always a fun time watching them kick things off with this year Wasp on the bill as well, making that Friday night really, really strong. And those tickets are on sale now. Steve, anything before I go that you want to hit? Anything that I forgot? Upcoming gigs or anything like that?
You're very thorough. We're also doing the Mohegan Sun this coming Saturday. Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. Great casino, great venue. And I believe Green Day's playing there the same night, so I'm going to hop off stage and go watch Green Day.
Are you playing the Wolf's Den?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's people that are in that area of Connecticut and have been to that casino. That's a fun gig because it's a little circular theater that sits right on the casino floor. And if I'm not mistaken, they don't charge anything. It's not even a ticketed gig, so anybody can wander in there. And I've seen a couple bands there, and it's like you've got the hardcore fans that are in there right up front, and then you've got the 90-year-old woman who just stumbled in just to take a look at what's going on. And it's always funny to see gigs in there.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's a great venue. It's a great gig. We've been doing it for about the past 5 years, and we always have a great show, and a lot of people show up. And, this year's kind of special. I'm looking forward to seeing Green Day because I've never seen them, and I love their music.
Technically, you could say you're opening for Green Day.
There you go. That's what I'm telling people.
Put it out there. Go with it, man. What the hell? And you're doing Long Island, I think, Friday, if I'm not mistaken, or Thursday, right?
Friday. Yeah, I'm not. I forget what's the name of it.
It's on my. It's Emporium, I believe, right?
I'm not sure. I don't have.
Or Revolution, maybe. Revolution.
Revolution. That's the one. Thank you.
There you
that's
go.
The one.
That date's on my site, and of course, what's the official Kix site?
I guess Kix.com.
All right, I wasn't sure if it was that simple, but that sounds good. So go to Kix.com, find a date. And Steve, it's always good talking to you, man, and I'll see you again. If not sooner, I'll see you at M3, but hopefully I'll see you sooner.
Okay, sounds good, Eddie. Great talking to you.
You too, man. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.